everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today for this webinar on Christmas markets of Europe with AmaWaterways. I'm really excited about this one. Christmas is my favorite time of year. I start working on Christmas lights over the whole weekend before Thanksgiving, so I get getting them up inside and outside my house. I don't turn them on until Thanksgiving night, but they're up and ready to go. I get my Christmas tree put up the day after Thanksgiving. I even have this little Christmas tree here that I decorate, but I keep it up year round with just the lights. And Christmas music. I love Christmas music. There's a local radio station that starts playing Christmas music about the middle of November, much to my kids' dismay. So when we're in the car for about the 6 weeks, they've got nothing but Christmas music. I even stream it in the house. So it's my thing. I love it. And so I'm really excited to hear more about the Christmas markets from Richard. Okay, everybody, so at this point during our original webinar last week, we had some technical difficulties. We had wanted to share a short 2-3 minute video that I think really gives you a good sense of what it's like to be on a Christmas market river cruise. So before posting the recording, I wanted to go back and add it in, which is what I'm doing now. So you're going to watch this video, and then it'll start right back up with Richard sharing about the rest of what to expect on a river cruise. So thank you for your patience, and I hope you enjoy.
What if there were a place you could experience the wonder of the holidays in a new way? Each experience an even more precious gift than the last. It's special moments and the magic of the season. And the only thing that you have to prepare for is adventure. It's returning to luxury after a day of exploring. It's the warmth of your floating hotel, where incredible views are only a step away. It's savoring the moment down to the last drop. It's giving all 5 senses something lasting, where everything is sprinkled with a little bit of magic. Imagine how incredible it would be to discover a place like this. Because it's not just about where you go, it's how you get there that matters. AmaWaterways River Cruises.
So thank you so much, Richard, for doing this with me, and I'll let you take over from here.
How's that, Becky? Can you see this fine?
Yep.
Okay, very good. So a few things that I'll be looking to cover are, some of the questions that are coming up, rightfully so, just to get a little bit of an overview on the state of the business of traveling in general, not even just specific to river cruising, but I'll address some of those things as well. Just a little bit of the history on our company, but also the stability of our company and how you can protect your travel investment. Those are important questions, things that people want to know when considering traveling. Then I'll really just kind of walk through, some highlights of the Christmas market. We didn't look to focus on one specific itinerary, but really just to touch upon some different things. I will share that for the Christmas markets, they operate on the Rhine as well as on the Danube and some portions of the Moselle River. So those would really be the waterways that we would be featuring right here. We already introduced ourselves, so I'm going to move right past this slide right here. And really just an extra thank you just for taking the time to join us, whether it's right now with us or in a recorded session that you listen to later. Becky, thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to share once again just some of the really unique things that AmaWaterways does and really what sets us apart in the industry. So just to begin briefly with a look at our owners that we see on this slide right here, from left to right, we're looking at our president and CEO, Rudy Schreiner. And Rudy's the godfather of river cruising, and for a couple of good reasons. He was actually the VP of product development for another river cruise company called Uniworld River Cruises back in 1992. And it was at that same year that the Main-Danube Canal was dredged. So this now opened up the possibilities of being able to travel by water, literally from the North Sea all the way down to the Black Sea. And Rudy saw this as an opportunity for tourism and got Uniworld to start working on their product there. He was Viking River Cruises' first president, and then Uniworld, AmaWaterways, along with Christine, his wife, and Gary Murphy, our senior VP and president co-owner, started AmaWaterways 18 years ago. It's a great company to work for. In terms of stability, I want to address that also because there's a reason for people to wonder, if I pay my money to this company, how long will this company be around? And I'm not going to read the entire quote right here, but it speaks to the fact that we're debt-free. We've got no debt on us. Because of that, we've also been able to remain an anomaly. When you're looking at all the different travel suppliers, travel providers, and partners out there, AmaWaterways has not had to take the steps a number of other folks have had to take in terms of furloughing staff or reducing hours and reducing salaries. So that speaks volumes. But in addition to that, completely debt-free, even for the 2 ships that are set to arrive next year. Several years ago, we also took on some financial investor partnerships with Citaris, if you've heard of them, the Rothschild Group, Peugeot family, just to name a few. So we're not going anywhere. Your travel investment is very safe with AmaWaterways. But in terms of some additional things that you could do to protect your travel investment, we came out with something called Travel Waiver Plus, and this was right after everything started to surface with COVID and having it spread to the US. And this is a way to basically allow you to cancel for any reason up into 24 hours prior to departure. So this is in addition to a normal AmaWaterways cruise protection plan. And the cruise protection plan would normally allow you to cover for a covered, say, medical reason or a very specific unforeseen reason. The Travel Waiver Plus would allow you to cancel for any reason. So you get total peace of mind. And the way that it basically works is, let's say that, our final payments are required 90 days out. And it's normally within that 60 to 90 day period before your departure, where if you were to cancel for an uncovered reason, you'd be penalized 35%. With the Travel Waiver Plus, while you would not get that 35% returned to you, you would not lose the value of it. So we would actually retain that as a future cruise credit. So when you're ready to travel again, you could go ahead and use that credit and apply that toward your future cruise. So the percentage of that increases as you get closer to the departure date. But again, the full value of your trip would actually be protected. This question I get regularly throughout the day. What is it going to look like when you're actually able to sail again? This right here is really a draft. It's a blueprint, if you will, and that we continue to work on what it's going to look like in terms of health and safety for our guests, for our crew, and all the teams that we work with, the hotel service, the nautical teams, what we're doing to kick up our hygiene standards and just overall food and safety. So look through this. I won't bore you with reading all the details, but strict requirements for anybody that is coming on board with questionnaires, surveys. If they've been to a high-risk area, they will be denied boarding within a certain time frame. upgrading to hospital-grade disinfectants, increasing the frequency of cleaning these public areas. There's also something that's called rafting, when you're river cruising and you pull into, say, a small town where another river cruise ship may come and dock up alongside you. And historically, the guests from that ship have been able to walk through the lobby of our ship to make their way onto port. Going forward, that will not be the case. They would have to they're allowed to basically step on board, but only go right up the stairs, across the sun deck, and down the other side. So again, these are all the things that we're doing in addition to no longer having a buffet service. So I could share a bit more, but the last thing I'll mention is that, as we get closer, these things will be upgraded, these things will be modified, so that when you're able to return and sail with us, everything is going to be in place to ensure your safety. So now getting to when you can actually take one of those magical Christmas market sailings. And again, it's just a fantastic way to travel. I like to tell people, because I think it gets them to really think along the lines of, like, what can I experience? If there's one word that I would really pull out in what it kind of encompasses a Christmas market, it would be the word senses, because your senses are on overload, from the smells as you're walking through these Christmas markets of the baked goods and the hot wines that they're serving, the music that's playing. There's just this festive atmosphere as you're walking through these different markets and, looking through all the different things that the local artisans have made. It's just a really, really great time. As I mentioned earlier, there's nothing to compare to in the States, so it's something you really need to keep on your list. And you're on your luxury floating, hotel cruise along the way. The ship itself is not the destination. It is your luxury floating hotel that's taking you to and through the destination, and of course during the Christmas time. But the other part that I would mention about the Christmas markets that makes them really special is that they've really been put together for the locals to these areas that we're visiting. They're not set up for tourists per se. Certainly a lot of tourists go and take advantage of this, and as word spreads and how fun they are, certainly people travel to see them, but it really is for the locals. So we're able to step into what the locals are doing and be a part of those festivities, which I think makes it really extra special. And when we welcome you on board, you're going to find a number of things decorated when you walk right into the lobby, but we want you to be a part of those festivities also. So what we have is in the main lounge area, I think we'll see another slide or two, where there's some bare Christmas trees, and all the guests will actually get an opportunity to decorate those trees as we begin, as we start the trip. And I can tell you that they take it very serious. They're having a really good time, but just like if I'm sure if you decorated with your own family, maybe if you have kids, like where everybody's decorating certain things a certain way, and you're kind of picking up after the kids in certain areas. But it's just a fun way and a great way to really socialize and meet a number of the other guests on board. Here is a look actually to the left right here of what the Christmas tree decorating looks like. And this happens to be, by the way, Janice. She's actually one of my colleagues at AmaWaterways. But it's, again, just a great experience. There's Christmas caroling that goes on board by all of our crew and all the team there. There's one special night also where everybody's asked to put a shoe out just on the outside of their door. And depending on what kind of a guest that you've been, you may get a nice little gift, or you may end up with a piece of charcoal in your shoe. But it's just a fun way to do something nice for the guest. Every door has a really beautiful decorated Christmas wreath on it as well. So again, it's not just the Christmas markets that we're going to, it's everything on board the ship as well. And the team that we have on board just really contributes to that. The baked goods, there's, the Stalin bread, the picture that we're looking at here. Think gingerbreads, just all the baked goods that we have, from the donuts. All these things are prepared fresh on board the ship. Everything we bring on board, is prepared fresh, and we're picking up fresh ingredients along the way also. So that just speaks to the culinary experience, right? In fact, I like to share, and this is a true statement, we have a freezer on board. It's pretty much used for the ice cream because, again, everything else we're preparing just very fresh along the way as we're going. Also, I mentioned gingerbread earlier. There's even a gingerbread making thing that everybody can do as well. So again, all those festivities on board. Here's a look at some of the hot wines, or when you're in Germany, it's known as a Glühwein. When you're in France, it's known as Vinchaud, but it's basically the same thing. and it's prepared either with a white or a red wine. And there's a spice that they add to it. Typically, it would be cloves. In this case, we see some cinnamon sticks in there, and then they'll add a citrus to it. But there's a lot of pride that all these different Christmas market, stallers, really take in creating these things too. So you're tasting all these different ones, and there's souvenir glasses that you're picking up along the way also. And if you want to bring some home, definitely be sure to bring an extra little backpack or something. It's actually funny because a lot of guests maybe they're not notified of that before in advance, or they just forgot. So we end up with a lot of empty extra souvenir mugs left on the ships. But what you can do is that you can actually take them back. So if you don't want to take them back, bring that back home with you. You can take them back to the stall that you bought them, and they'll give you kind of like a little deposit back that you paid for that cup. So our crew has gotten pretty creative. So for all the leftover ones, they actually end up returning a lot of these along the way, picking up a couple of years here and there. So I just thought that was kind of funny to share as well. Here's a look at Christine, with some guests on board also, just enjoying some of that hot wine. But this is just a great family time also. So if they're if your family ever travels during the holiday, I think doing a river cruise would be a really special way to do that. The other thing that I'll mention here is that we've got other themed departures. We have our celebration of wine sailings, and for those sailings, we may bring along a special wine owner or a winemaker, and they're leading special conversations on wine tasting and wine pairings, and some special excursions for that. So based on how you time your Christmas market trip, you could tie it together with the celebration of wine sailing. And it might even be over Thanksgiving. So you can have like Thanksgiving, the celebration of wine theme, as well as the Christmas markets. The Christmas markets, just if you're wondering how soon they open, typically they're scheduled to open up, in line with the Advent calendar. So about 4 Sundays before Christmas, I think it is typically. Sometimes you open a little bit sooner, sometimes a little bit later, but that's kind of the guideline. But again, if you can time all those things, it'd just be a great way to experience a number of different fun things at that time. I mentioned before that we sail on the Danube, the Rhine, and the Moselle. So just a map for a quick glance as to, as far as where that, what that looks like on the map. A number of different countries: Netherlands, Germany, Czech Republic, Austria, Hungary, France, and Switzerland. So a lot of things that you can do right here to combine a number of them. And then keep in mind you have pre and post options also. So for example, if you're doing our Melodies of the Danube cruise, that would actually set sail from, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank right now at the moment. It's the town of Passau, just outside of Vienna. You can depart from there, not just Wilshoven, just outside of Passau. My apologies. You can tie in a pre or post into Prague in the Czech Republic for a few nights, and then we'll transfer a guest down to board in Wilshoven, and then you can take your cruise on from there, end with a few additional nights in Budapest. So keep in mind you get these pre or post options along the way. And what's nice with the pre or post options with AmaWaterways is that our cruise managers will join you on the front end and on the back end. So they're there to give some tips, lead you on some different excursions, make some different recommendations, and it just really allows you to engage with them, build that rapport before you get them boarded the ship to further that relationship. Going through here, I just want to include a number of some different slides, just beautiful slides. This is one of the Christmas markets that we'll make a stop at when we're in Vienna. Nice little story that I'd like to share about this one. It was actually Rudy Schreiner, who was in Vienna for one of the Christmas markets, and he's from Vienna originally. He was actually born on the Danube in Vienna, but he was in here in a Christmas market. It was a little bit later in the evening, and he and his wife Christine just thought, you know what, let's see if we can actually make our way to church. So they made their way over to St. Stephen's Cathedral for late midnight mass. As he shares, we were able to take communion and to enjoy that, and then make their way back to ship. So there's all these different little things that you can really do to make it special, just for yourself. And we have all these different things that you can participate in, from the scheduled trips to the Christmas markets or other things that we scheduled, because the Christmas markets aren't the only exclusive things. Certainly you'll be able to stop at Christmas markets at pretty much every stop, but there's some other things that you can do also, so you don't feel like Christmas marketed out. Budapest, again, just another beautiful picture, really, that I just wanted to flash, but some amazing things to do in Budapest. And just, there's not just one Christmas market in the majority of these towns that we stop at. Even some of the smaller towns have more than one. In some of the larger cities, it's safe to say there's 20 plus Christmas markets easily. So while we include a number of things, you're free to go out and venture and find some things on your own also. So there's plenty of things to do at every stop that we go to. The goods, and all the local things that the local artisans are making. This is a look at some of the little Santas that they create. And if you can get a little bit closer look here, it might be a little hard to see. All the Santas have like a little circle for the mouth. And this is because you can actually pull them apart. When they're created to put some incense inside. So as you light that, it actually looks like he's kind of smoking. Smoke is coming out of his mouth. The same thing with the little rooftops that you see down below, where you can actually put some incense in there. And it looks like the little chimney is actually kind of smoking also. So just some cute little things. I think it's also in Budapest, where there's some local artisans that create these ceramic flowers that are just gorgeous in detail. They work on them the majority of the year to sell them at the Christmas markets, and they literally sell out within a month's time. So this is a sort of time and thought that goes into these things. But again, you're on a regular AmaWaterways cruise, so there's a lot of other things to enjoy along the way as well, just from the scenery that we're passing by. This just happens to be a look down from Dürnstein Castle in the little town of Dürnstein in the Wachau Valley on the Danube River. So this is a highlight just from the plains, the vineyards, the castles that we're passing along this way. We do stop here also and have some different short excursions that you can do, from a cycling trip to a wine tasting tour. There's a hike up to Dürnstein Castle, which is again the vantage point from here also. So a lot of options that you can take advantage of, along with some free time. I did talk a little bit earlier about the Czech Republic for that pre and post in Prague, and this is probably one of the most popular ones that people will do. It's 3 pre-nights in Prague. Again, you have the advantage of your cruise manager being there. The day that we would board the ship, it would be an early departure from Prague. We'd make our way over to a small town called Regensburg, and we would spend some time there in the afternoon. So you get that nice stop, and it's a nice breaking up point before we would continue on over to Vilshofen. And the reason we do that is to time it so that we can get to the ship at approximately 3 o'clock, because that would be the time that the cabins should then be ready, that guests for the next cruise can actually board. Cologne, Germany, there's so many things to do in Cologne, Germany. This would be one example of where when we dock here, you can expect staying here a full day. We're going to be there in the early morning hours when you wake up. We're going to stay late into the early morning hours, technically just past midnight. So plenty of free time, a number of excursions to take advantage of. The Christmas markets, of course, that you can enjoy. Make your way back to the ship, because we dock literally about an 8 minutes walk from this particular area that we're looking at. So enjoy some things in town, make your way back to the ship, rest up a bit if you need to get some more energy, and then make your way back out to explore a bit further also. This would be a great place if you're into beers, if you want to taste some Kolsch beer, either on one of our Kolsch beer tasting tours, or just to go out and Old Cologne area, enjoy that as well. And then, of course, the cathedral right here, which is just magnificent. Again, just some of the different things here. We see these ladies enjoying their hot wine and the ornaments. There's just so many wonderful handcrafted ornaments, some wood-crafted ornaments to these glass, like snow globe looking ornaments also. So I would just say some really unique things. Becky, knowing that you're really into Christmas, I don't even know that I've asked you if you've done a Christmas market, but you have to do one of these Christmas markets, and hopefully with AmaWaterways.
Yeah, it's on my list.
Absolutely, absolutely. And here's a look at what it looks like, where they're serving the hot wines here also. So those are the souvenir mugs that you see kind of stacked right there in front, and what they're doing to just kind of ladle them out and serve the guests as they're passing by. But it's a great way just to kind of stay warmed up in the area. I mean, I just kind of go through one after another. The alcohol content is incredibly low, but again, it's really just, you feel like you're tasting Christmas, if that's okay to say. The Rhine Gorge, another highlight. This, of course, on the Rhine River, and this is a beautiful stretch that we pass through. It's maybe about a 5-hour stretch that we go through this area. It's located between Koblenz and Rudesheim, and it's just an incredibly scenic area where we pass approximately 35 storybook castles. This is the Kotz Castle that we're passing by in this particular frame. But what's nice is that our cruise manager comes out on deck, and most people are out on deck, although there are speakers where you can hear from a number of locations on the ship, but they're giving commentary, narrative, sharing stories of every castle that we're passing by, the vineyards, the different towns that we're passing by, just different stories. So you just feel like it's this enriching educational experience as you're literally just, leaning back in a lounge chair, maybe sipping on your Glühwein or your Rudesheimer coffee, which I'll talk about in a moment. And for me, this was probably the best highlight. I enjoyed so many things, but this to me, I think, was one of my highlights. I love history, so to have that history lesson as you're passing by, I thought was really quite special. Strasbourg, another amazing town, some more Christmas markets, of course. But as I mentioned, it doesn't have to be all about the Christmas markets. That's a given. You can stop here at every place, but there's so many other great things to do. There's the Strasbourg Cathedral. There's just enjoying the architecture, from the 16th, 17th century half-timbered homes. There's a lot of history in Strasbourg in the Alsace region, located just across for the border of Germany, and a lot of history because this is the area that went back and forth between Germany and France and Germany and France. So just kind of exploring and making your way around the town is something fun to do. A cycling tour would be something fun here also. And I always like to mention that if you're interested in storks at all, Strasbourg is known for having storks here year round, but in particular at a place called Orangery Park, where if you do the cycling tour or the historic city walking tour, it passes right by Orangery Park, and it's a protected reserve for them since the mid 1980s. So you're sure to see some storks there, but what I find most impressive are their nests. I don't know the exact measurement, but they're huge and just pretty impressive to see up front and close. This again is just a picture of one of the local artisans who's weaving baskets. I mean, these are the type of things that you see. It almost seems like something out of the old world, and it's just again part of the whole experience of different things that you're coming across. Were you going to say something, Becky? I'm sorry.
No, I'm just
okay. This I love. This is actually known as the world's largest advent calendar in Gengenbach. And it's something that we include for a guest on a tour. So there are some other river cruise companies that will take their guests here, but they charge for it. We actually take our guests here complimentary. What's nice about this particular Christmas market, in addition to just being able to witness this large advent calendar where each day in the evening at a certain time, they'll open one window and reveal something under it. There's always a certain theme that they're doing. But we stop at this one a little bit later in the evening. So a number of other ones, if we're there all day, certainly you can stop there in the evening, but this is one that we intentionally go out to in the evenings to get to really be a part of the Christmas market and experience those lights and what that is a little bit later in the day, which is really special. Basel, Switzerland. I just love this picture because to me it looks like a gingerbread town. It looks like a real life gingerbread town with all the colors here. Basel's an amazing town. Again, a lot of beautiful things to see. Spend some time exploring here, but also consider doing that post package into Basel. There's a 4-night post package that will take you up to Lucerne and Zurich if you want to spend some time up in the Swiss Alps. And again, you'd be accompanied by a cruise manager, so it just makes it even more educational along the way. I was talking about different things also that you can combine here. So a New Year's Eve cruise might be something that you want to consider as well. I mean, from the fireworks here, I have not had a chance to do this one. I've heard a number of people talk about that have done this one, and depending on the city that you're in, of course, but one example people have described being in Budapest. If you haven't seen those pictures of Budapest in the evening with the Parliament building all lit up and just the bridge lit up and just, everything around the area, to have these fireworks going off, over New Year's and celebrating it, there in that type of location on this beautiful ship, but to have the perspective from the water, it's just, again, one of those once in a lifetime experiences. So that's something you could look to do also. Talking just a little bit about what the onboard features and amenities are like. This is something now that's unique to AmaWaterways. Some others have since followed us, some other peers out there, but we were the first ones to design the twin balcony staterooms. And what's nice about this, if you consider, we were just talking about the Christmas markets, right? So if we only had an outside, a full step out balcony, you might not enjoy quite that much time out there because it's going to be a bit cooler. The nice thing is that you have the French balcony to one side, the full step out balcony on the other side. So, with the French balcony, the windows pressed all the way up to the railing. So you get great views with that nice little sitting area that you can relax in, nice room temperature that you set it to at your comfort level. You can still open it up and enjoy that, that breeze, when the weather permits and you feel comfortable with that. But then again, you get the full step out balcony. So in those optimal times that you're traveling, if it's not a Christmas market, let's say, kind of, just between that period, spring is turning into to summer, some great weather, step outside, enjoy coffee in the morning, or wine in the evening. You'll also notice that we have some technology in the room. So Apple computers, if you want to stay connected, we've got complimentary Wi-Fi on board the entire ship, certainly in the stateroom. You can leave your laptop at home. You can use your Apple computers in the staterooms there. And since I'm talking about technology, there's something called the AmaWaterways app. And this is a way for you to stay further engaged with your friends and family back home, which would basically be downloading this easy app. You enter your booking number. You can then enter family and friends' email addresses. And as you're making your way through your trip, it'll push out notifications automatically. So when Becky is able to join us on her Christmas cruise and she's pulling into Reykjavik, it'll push out a notification to her friends and family automatically that says, Becky's arrived in Reykjavik. Here's a list of some highlights that she'll be able to enjoy today. As Becky's posting some pictures and uploading them to this app, it'll also push out those notifications. So again, just a great way to stay engaged. We know your family wants to know you're safe and enjoying your time, so it's a really good way to stick with that. This is a look at one of our panoramic lounges, which is pretty typical on board every AmaWaterways ship. There's a couple of exceptions in design, but most of them will look similar to this. And it's the main gathering place. It's kind of the family room of the ship for a number of reasons. One, there's a number of great comfortable sitting throughout the entire area. You get these wonderful floor-to-ceiling windows located at the front of the ship, so a number of unobstructed views right here. But it's also that place if you just want to go and spend some time, meet some other guests, or just hang out and have some nice conversation. Maybe you don't want to get a full breakfast down in the main dining room. You can come up to the lounge, grab a croissant, stop at the coffee station. It's also that place where in the evening, our dedicated pianist will come on board, play some nice tunes. He's taking some requests. The cruise manager will come on and give some discussions on the next day's ports of call and when you're going to stop and what the shore excursion options may be. But it turns into a full-blown disco in the evening as well. So all these things going on. It stays open pretty much till the last person leaves. But it's also that place for just some local onboard entertainment. So maybe when we're in Vienna, we'll bring on some local musicians to play some classical music. Or when we're in Spitz, Germany, we'll bring on some local folklore dancers. So it's just a great place to spend some time gathering and meet other guests on board. Dining, as with any vacation, is a place where you want to enjoy some really wonderful meals. Something that's unique to AmaWaterways is that we're a part of it's really the world's oldest culinary society, or certainly one of them. It dates back to 1248, and it's called the Chaîne de Rôtissiers. And it basically speaks to the presentation of the food, the freshness and the locally sourcing of the food. And you cannot request to be a part of the society. You just have to be given that designation. AmaWaterways has that designation on board every one of our river cruise vessels. This scene right here that we're looking at is in our chef's table restaurant. So this is an alternative dining experience separate from the main dining room, but this is going to be where you can go and enjoy a wonderful 6-course meal. But with each of those courses, there's options. So it's not a set 6-course meal. So you get different options with each of those courses. There's 3 to 4 different wine pairings located at the back of the ship. These beautiful floor-to-ceiling windows once again. So if you imagine that you're traveling through here and it's right at sunset, these amazing meals being prepared for you with all these options along the way. The chef and his team preparing, plating all the foods and bringing them out to you. The different wines that they're bringing out as options. It is just one of the best experiences. My favorite, quite frankly, on board the ship. You do need to make reservations. There is no extra charge for it, but I would definitely suggest that you look to add this to your time on board. Exploring the world your way. Again, some things that are unique to AmaWaterways is that we include, with no additional charge, complimentary 3 to 4 different excursions at every stop that we make. We break them up into what we call our gentle, regular, and our active tours. So with the gentle, as an example, that would be if I were taking, say, my parents who are a little bit older, maybe aren't going to move as quick, but we're still going to take in some core highlights along the way, maybe avoiding some steps also. The regular is going to be just a little bit quicker pace, taking in a few more highlights along the way, right? And the active would be maybe the example that we're looking at in the left frame, where it's a guided cycling tour. It might even be a guided hiking tour through the Black Forest. So these are all options that we include upfront for a guest. And the other thing that's really nice, and if you think of what's happening with COVID and social distancing, it's extra nice because we've got these audio box things that all of our guests have. They charge in your stateroom. You basically just pick them up the morning before you want to board your, go out on your tour. But it allows you to be able to listen to what your guides are saying and not have to be right next to them. You can be 40, 50 feet away and you're still taking in everything that you're saying. So you basically just take them back, charge them once again, and then take them out the next day. The other thing that's really nice is that, I'm the early riser. I'm going to be the guy that gets up, has his coffee and says, let's go. But it's holiday. We know that a lot of people want to enjoy maybe a leisurely breakfast and then get going a little bit later. So we have our late risers that allows them to do those same options that I just mentioned, but have a little bit of a later start. The last thing I'll mention here is that we do have an onboard fleet of bicycles on board every ship, but they're not used exclusively for the guided cycling tours. You can make reservations, take them out to town for a few hours and enjoy some leisurely time on your own, and then just bring them back and rest up a bit. As we're kind of rounding some things out here, I did want to include a save the date that Becky and I had discussed, and kind of keeping this series going, just keeping you up to date on some different things that you can dream about travel with. On Thursday, June 9th at 4 p.m., we're going to be talking about the Mekong River, so experiencing Vietnam and Cambodia. And again, just kind of giving an overview on what that destination is like. If you've never been to Southeast Asia in general, the people are some of the most, I would say, some of the most warm, genuine, hospitable people probably on the globe. I mean, just wonderful, wonderful people to be able to interact with. So we'll be talking through what that experience is like also. So if you're interested, please mark this date for you, but Becky will be sending out some reminders as well. And hopefully I covered at least the main highlights. I could certainly spend a lot longer going through some things, but Becky, I don't know if you have any other questions or if any of your guests may have some questions for me.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to unmute people. That way, if they want to ask questions, they can. I'll see if it actually works. Oh, maybe not.
No, it's.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, it says I've unmuted them, so maybe it's just that they've muted themselves.
That's right. Yeah. So if they would like to ask a question, they would just need to unmute themselves. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Feel free to do that. Or there is also a chat pod, I believe, down at the bottom, if they're more comfortable with that.
Right. Is there anything you might want to expand on Becky, or anything that I covered you may want to talk further on, or was that good enough to excite you just a bit? Not that you
Well, I'm going to admit I've got a call into AMA actually to see if there's room for this year, because I'm being hopeful that the Christmas markets will go this year, so I can go. And if not, I'm definitely on for next year.
I love it.
To do it. So I just think they're amazing. I mean, they look amazing. I agree. It's a great way for a family to do a wonderful, maybe forego your traditional, gifts for everybody and take them on a wonderful trip instead type of thing.
That's right.
And
this would be such a unique memory that would just be like unforgettable, really. To be able to do it just once in your lifetime with, a few special family members, that'd be great.
Yeah, creating memories. It's wonderful. And you touched on some of the things I kind of made some notes for myself that I had questions coming in, and you answered most of them, but kind of away from the Christmas markets. But as far as, since we started doing these, well, first, I always get asked why a travel agent, and there's lots of reasons why. But I've also been getting asked why AmaWaterways, because this is the third one I've done with AmaWaterways, and they keep like, well, why Ama? Why not one of the other ones? Right. And I realized that the answer to both of those questions is pretty much the same. There's a lot of reasons why Ama. There's a lot of reasons why a travel agent, but I think they both come down to relationships. AmaWaterways is just, I feel like I have a relationship with them. Which instills trust and confidence in the product that they're going to supply me, which I in turn supply my clients, and which in the end is peace of mind. And I think that's what a travel agent does as well. I like to build relationships with people. Most of my clients, I don't even like calling them clients because they just don't feel like that. I've been working with them for so long. And that's kind of how AmaWaterways feels with me. And I think once people go with Ama, they wind up with that feeling because of the host that you have on board and the cruise managers. So I think that's really important, because there are other river cruise products out there and they're good. I just think that Ama is exceptional.
I
It,
appreciate that, and I agree with you 100%. The relationship is huge. One quick note on that. I mean, I'm big on relationships. I like to be loyal in that respect. I mean, I still go to the same tailor that I've gone to since I was a teenager, and it's not always the most convenient, to make that. But you form those relationships, and there's that familiarity, and you just want to be able to honor that. But in addition to that, for the people that don't know anything about AmaWaterways, and it's just like, okay, well, there's Viking, there's Uniworld, there's some other options out there. I don't have the relationship with AmaWaterways like you may have. Some things that I would share is that we have won more awards than any other river cruise line in the river cruise industry. The one that I point to first is that there's a rating system by a company called Berlitz, and they've done ocean cruise rating for a number of years. They just started doing river cruises about 3 or 4 years ago. And what they do is they go on board as a mystery shopper. We never have a clue when they're on board our ship. But what they do is they go back and they rate everything from, the shore excursions and customer service and the meal quality and just the ambiance on board, all these different things. And with approximately 320 plus river cruises on the rivers today, and our fleet representing just about 23 of those. And actually, if we're looking specifically to Europe, I think it's just about 18 or 19 of those ships. 10 of our ships made the top 15. Again, this is from mystery shoppers coming on board, over 300 river cruise ships, and our small fleet has 10 in the top 15. So I think that's big. The other part I would add, Disney. Everybody knows Disney has incredibly high standards. The Adventures by Disney product puts together these chartered river cruise trips. And after having tried a number of different cruise lines, they didn't just have some meetings and look through some brochures. They tested the product and they opted to work with AmaWaterways. One big reason, just to be transparent, is that we do have berths that accommodate third and fourth guests on a number of our ships, and adjoining staterooms. So that was a big part of it. But in conjunction with just the overall service and everything else, that was really the main reason they opted to work with us too. So kind of a long answer, but I think that hopefully solidifies that a bit for you with a response.
right. Yeah, just amazing product. I did think of one kind of, I think, a little off regarding the Christmas markets, the time of year they're going. What does the upper deck look like that time of year? Like the pools I know are normally heated and the
Yeah.
spa, but are those still, because some people like to enjoy their drinks and
Yeah.
the warm spots.
Still open. You will find a few folks out there from time, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that too, because our ships are actually decorated on the outside. I know that in that picture at the beginning, unfortunately, that one didn't have it decorated, excuse me, but all of our ships are decorated on the outside, which is really nice because, when you've been out all day and then you come back and you're looking for a ship, you don't really remember where you docked it, but ours stand out like none of the others because there's, lights and this nice wreaths going around the entire ship. We're just completely recognized for that. Where all the ships decorate on board, but we go beyond that and decorate the outside of our ships as well.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I didn't realize that part. Oh.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much. If there are any other questions, feel free. Otherwise, thank you so much, Richard. It was a lot of great information, and I look forward to going on one soon.
Love it.
And I look forward to meeting with you in July and talking about the Mekong, because that really is another magical part of the world as well. So
absolutely.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you so much, Rick, for the time. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you,
Appreciate
everybody.
it.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.